How's it going, everybody? Welcome into another disc review from Foundation. Today we are looking at the Underworld from Westside discs. This is an understable, well, they're calling it a control driver, but I would say it's an understable fairway driver. They give this one the flight numbers of a 7-speed, 6 glide, -3 turn, and just 1 fade. I do know somewhat how this disc flies because it's one that I just started bagging recently. So not only will I be showing you how this disc flies, I'll be able to give you some personal opinion on it because I have thrown it a decent bit in actual round situations, and I think this disc has a lot to offer for certain shot types or players. I think it does exactly what it claims to do, and I'm excited to show it off to you. This one I have here is in the VIP plastic, which is considered to be their most durable blend, but it also has some good grip to it. The Underworld is very agreeable in the hand, feels understable based on the parting line. You kind of notice that quick dip off of the shoulder there, that low parting line, which indicates an understable disc, and that certainly is true, but feels solid in the hand. The rim width is very accurate and true to a 7-speed, what you'd expect from that. Not too wide, not too narrow. I'll start with the backhand and give you just a little clue into the kind of understability that we're dealing with. I will throw this first one with some hyzer and showcase just the flip that we got going on here. Even throwing that on hyzer way too high, I think it probably went way out of frame to the right. It turned very easily. Even that wasn't a 100% throw. I threw it way up in the sky and it still went over to the right and turned, like I said, probably out of your frame of view there. But that is what we're looking at here. This disc is not, for my arm speed, certainly a straight flyer. This is something I use for a lot of trick shots, but I'll demonstrate different speeds of throw as well, just so you can get an idea of what it'll do, because it may look one-dimensional at the arm speed that I have, or more arm speed, but there's a lot that this disc has to offer, so I'll show you a number of different lines. I'm gonna try and keep the Underworld in frame this time. This time I'm gonna power down on it and try to give you just a better look at what it does at a little bit of a lower speed, but still keep it on hyzer. Still not a great throw, didn't give it a ton of height, but you could see even at a very low speed, that was maybe a 60% throw for me, with a lot of hyzer, it still turned over pretty easily. So I'm just trying to clue you in that this disc is a disc that is reliably gonna go right. That's kind of the point of this mold. So it does as advertised. The next few shots I'm gonna show you then are things that I would actually do with this disc, knowing what I know. There are a few reasons why I have this disc in my bag. 3 shots in specific that are really the only shots I throw with this disc. And I'm gonna explain to you what each one of those shots are and why this disc is great for it. Number 1, and this is probably the most obvious, is the roller. I'm not a great roller player. Rollers can seem scary and unintuitive and difficult because you have to get the angles, you have to get them right. And what I've found is a disc like the Underworld that is so flippy, it takes a lot of the guesswork out, because yes, if you're trying to throw a distance roller that flies, that goes, you know, it cuts a little bit right and then falls over left, or, well, other way around. It cuts a little left and then falls over right, and it gives you kind of a straight, long roller. That's tough to throw. But if you stick to looking for rollers that are gonna just fall a good bit to the right, and you're just trying to get one down, a disc like this is great because you know it's not gonna be hard to get to the ground. And the worst thing to do, the most embarrassing roller to throw, is the one that doesn't turn over enough and just kind of cuts into the ground, right? A thrower, if you will. So I'm gonna show you just how easy it is, just throwing a backhand with a little bit of anhyzer to just get this thing to the ground. I don't know if you can see that roll the whole way, but I mean, that is the simplest of shots. I didn't throw it very high. It wasn't some big looping shot. It was pretty low with just a decent bit of anhyzer. It gets to the ground, and even though it has a little bit of cut at the beginning, it makes sure to finish to the right because it's an understable disc. That is such a simple shot to throw, and it's gonna help you get under those low ceilings, hook around obstacles, and add a roller to your game you might not otherwise have. So the second shot that I would throw with a disc like this, and I do throw with the disc like this, is a little less obvious maybe, and these are forehands. Now you're thinking to yourself, forehands, like why would you throw such a flippy disc on a forehand shot? How does that work? Well, it's not just your typical step up and rip a flat forehand shot. No, I use a disc like this when I'm looking to chew off distance on a forehand when I don't really have the footing or space to do so, or maybe even the ceiling space to do so. And what I mean is, say you find yourself in a weird, awkward lie. You can't get a run up. You may not even have a lot of room to move your arm. So what you can do is you take a disc with a little bit more speed and a little bit less stability, and you just focus on getting a good wrist snap and a good line, and this thing will pop and give you a little bit of a full flight that you wouldn't get out of a different disc. It's gonna give you some cheater distance almost, less effort for more distance. So I'll try to give you an example, just a little wrist pop standstill forehand, and show you what I mean by this. That one was on a little bit too much hyzer, but you could still see it still pushed quite a bit more. I mean, if I had thrown an overstable forehand approach disc there, for example, it would have jumped right as soon as I threw it. That one glided and moved forward the whole way. I'll throw another one to try to show you one with a little bit more turn, but the idea is less effort, more distance. All right, so you saw in that last forehand example that disc went almost 200, probably a little over 250 feet with just a little wrist pop, because it got a full flight because of the understability. So that's something I like to do in select situations. And the last shot I'm gonna show you is the hardest shot to execute with this disc, but arguably the coolest shot in disc golf when it works right. It's something I call the inside out hyzer flip. And that's just kind of a name I invented because it's very specific, but basically what I'm describing is you take something very understable, you throw it on so much hyzer that the disc is inclined to cut a little bit left out of your hand before folding over and finishing hard right. Typically the only times you have to throw this shot are when you're scrambling or bad hole design, but when it works, it's amazing. I will try my hardest to get one of these to happen, but I'm not a pro. Almost had it, didn't quite get it. I had a little bit too much hyzer. Might also be because this is a brand new Underworld. I will try again. Well, that one just turned into a sick distance roller. But that one at least showcased the point that I started that one on a lot of hyzer. It may have moved a hair left out of my hand before folding over to the right, which is the idea. And sometimes on that inside out shot, you're not gonna get this beautiful like pan to the right. Sometimes it is just gonna dive right like that one did to an extreme level. But the idea is you have a chance at executing that shot. Those are the 3 shots that I throw with that disc. So I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of how I use an understable fairway. Obviously the roller is the obvious one. You can also throw just big turnovers with them if you're just trying to go way, way up in the air and you want to know something goes to the right. But the Underworld is very unashamedly what it is. It's an understable fairway driver. And this video is advocating as much for just carrying a disc that does that as much as it is for the Underworld. I've just happened to be reviewing that one. It is the one that's in my bag because I think it does a great job. I think it's a little bit more stable than say the Latitude 64 Diamond while still getting down and rolling very easily and doing the things I need it to do. And I think it works just beautifully for that. So make sure to check out the Underworld on our site, foundationdisc.com, if you want to check out that disc, or just some other understable fairways on the site if you're just interested in trying out that kind of slot in your bag, because I think it can work wonders for you if you haven't before. Make sure to subscribe here to the Foundation Labs channel to see all our other disc reviews and disc related content. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.